Good evening. Jessica is off tonight. I'm Dan Ashley. The campaign against terrorism may have produced results overseas. In France, police arrested 7 men they claim had plans to attack the American embassy in Paris. At this apartment in Germany, 2 men were arrested and charged with 5,000 counts of murder for allegedly helping to plan the attack on the World Trade Center. 3 California military bases are ready to send their troops to war. 47 reservists have been called up at Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield. And in Afghanistan, the leaders of the Taliban say they will not surrender to the president's demands to hand over Osama bin Laden and other terrorists. So, with no room for negotiation, a conflict with Afghanistan seems more likely tonight. Both sides talking tough and getting ready. ABC 7's Jim Weeder is in neighboring Pakistan, reporting tonight from Islamabad. Jim, anger in the streets there today.
Well, good evening, Dan. That is the case, and our colleagues here at ABC News have just concluded an interview with Sohail Shaheen, Afghan embassy here in Pakistan, and during the conversation with Ted Koppel, Shaheen says he has no information about the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden and offers a bleak assessment in terms of a possible military confrontation with the United States.
From what I see from the American position, their demands and their bellicose attitude, unfortunately, I see the war is inevitable.
At least 3 civilians have been killed and 5 police officers injured in violent clashes in Karachi, Pakistan's largest city. Police fired tear gas and beat protesters with iron-tipped sticks to disperse the riot. Demonstrators are angry Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf is openly supporting U.S. efforts to apprehend Osama bin Laden. The president is walking a thin line by supporting the U.S. in a Muslim country where some feel the White House is using bin Laden as an excuse to wage war against all Muslims. Here in Islamabad, Taliban leaders defiantly rejected President Bush's demand to hand over bin Laden. And they repeated threats of a holy war if Afghanistan is attacked.
The books of our school of religion write that if infidels attack the territory of a country of Muslim, jihad becomes an Islamic obligation.
Also here, a minor victory of sorts for the government. A planned nationwide strike fizzled. Protests in Islamabad were for the most part peaceful and much smaller than expected. About 10,000 demonstrators took to the streets of Peshawar, about 95 miles from the capital of Islamabad. The crowd shouted outrage at their government's support of the United States. Protest leaders promised peaceful rallies, but the demonstrators' anger was evident. The crowd carried signs saying, "Crush America," and "Long live Taliban." This man said America itself is a terrorist state and is blaming Osama bin Laden without evidence. Americans, he says, are terrorizing more people than anyone else in the world. Religious leaders had called for a nationwide strike, and in some communities, shops, offices, and schools were closed. But in other parts of the country, it was business as usual, suggesting support for Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf and his open alliance with the U.S. Washington has also sweetened the pie by lifting economic sanctions and rescheduling a $600 million American loan. That deal was announced shortly after senior U.S. embassy officials met with President Musharraf. Also here in Islamabad, the Afghan ambassador said again his country will not force bin Laden to leave.
That if America have evidence and proofs, they should produce it, and we are ready for the trial of Osama bin Laden in the light of evidence.
In Afghanistan itself, the wave of refugees out of the capital continued as people stocked up with food, clothing, and other essentials. International relief agencies are mounting a massive relief effort for a country and a people ravaged by 20 years of war. And in terms of that Shaheen interview, which airs on Nightline in just a few minutes, that was shot here at our location in downtown Islamabad, and that is the good news at this hour, that there appears to be more dialogue between the Taliban and the international media. The bad news, Dan, is that the language appears to be negative, at least at this point. Dan?
And getting much tougher, obviously. Jim, you're 12 hours ahead of us. It's already Saturday morning there. It's a business day in Pakistan. What's the mood like there now?
It's the beginning of the work week, as you mentioned, Dan, here in Islamabad, and the sense is to go back to work for a vast majority of the country, and for the most part, we've had a quiet morning. We are expecting a quiet afternoon, but I can't stress enough here, Dan, that things tend to change here at a moment's notice, and there is the possibility of more protests in the population centers. We'll just have to wait and see later in the day.
All right, Jim, thanks. Jim Weeder reporting from Islamabad, Pakistan tonight. Meantime, here at home, all around the Bay Area, safety and security are a new priority. Visitors can no longer tour the Transamerica building in San Francisco. Cars are being searched as they enter the underground parking garage, and all workers must show identification. The walkways are still off limits on the Golden Gate Bridge, and that will be the case until at least next Friday. And California water agencies are on alert since the attacks. Armed guards are on patrol, and there's been increased testing to protect against terrorists armed with chemical or perhaps biological weapons. The threat of war continues to cast a dark shadow over the economy. Wall Street ended the worst week since the Great Depression of the 1930s. The Dow Jones Industrial Index has fallen by more than 1,300 points, 14% since Monday. Today's drop 140 points to close the week at 82.35. The NASDAQ was also down nearly 48 points. From stock values to hard cash, a lot less of it is changing hands in Silicon Valley tonight. Business travelers brought in more than $1 billion last year, but that has slowed to a trickle. ABC 7's Stacey Hendler is live in San Jose tonight. Stacey, hotels are hurting.
They are, Dan. It's usually hard to find a parking space at this hotel near the San Jose airport. That is not the case tonight. In fact, all over the Silicon Valley and the United States, the hotel industry is lagging because of last week's events and the downturn in air travel. But here in the Silicon Valley, they're hoping things will turn around soon. In fact, they're banking on it. 2 weeks ago, you could barely get near the front desk at San Jose's DoubleTree Hotel. It's usually packed with conventions and other business travelers. But tonight, it's a very different scene. Even most of the people in the lobby bar are locals, just here for a drink or dinner.
I think right about now we're probably looking at drastic situations. Looking at all over the country, hotels are experiencing the same thing. So certainly, you know, it's certainly cause for concern. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's definitely cause for concern.
Last year, San Jose brought in more than $1 billion from business travelers, staying at hotels, eating at restaurants, using local services. But then the economy went soft, and hotels saw close to a 50% drop in business. Then last week happened, cutting business another 20 to 30%. But hotels like the 500-room DoubleTree are hanging on, making no plans to cut back employees, preferring to wait out the situation with optimism.
We try to be very judicious in times like this as far as looking at new hires and limiting that, utilizing our current team members to possibly do other jobs than they're normally used to doing, and supplying them with enough hours so that they can feed their families.
Even though air travel is still drastically lower than normal, San Jose is looking forward to better times.
I suppose the unfortunate thing about being in business is that business will still need to happen. The president is asking us to get back to business, so that's what people intend to do.
It's what Becky Moser did, getting on a plane from Boston 2 days ago for meetings in San Jose.
And it just seems like hopefully it's not going to go on forever. I mean, it is empty, but we went on with our business this week.
And despite the recent downturn in the economy in the past few months and the current situation, San Jose still has plans to go ahead with 2 brand new huge luxury hotels that are going up in downtown San Jose, and plans to build a 3rd in the near future. Reporting live in San Jose, Stacey Hendler, ABC 7 News.
Stacey, thank you. The airlines are getting help from Congress tonight. Both the House and Senate approved a $15 billion relief package. The legislation authorizes $120 million to help ensure that small communities do not lose their air service. And it extends war risk insurance to domestic carriers. President Bush is expected to sign the bill. Congressional leaders say they're planning more aid packages in the days ahead, including money and benefits for airline workers who lose their jobs. All of last week's victims were remembered in a moment of silence and a patriotic tribute tonight at the Oakland A's baseball game. The 50-member bagpipe corps of the Oakland Police and Fire Departments performed after a moment of silence. This is the team's first home game since last week's tragedy. And officials tightened security there significantly, banning coolers, backpacks, and large bags. But it was a moving experience for those who were there. Well, is the price of this added security costing you your civil liberties? We'll take a closer look coming up next. And we'll have the very latest from the site of the World Trade Center collapse, where the recovery effort continues well into the night. Back from a long and exhausting mission, Northern California search and rescue teams talk about what it was like at Ground Zero. Plus, the Bay Area lining up to sign up. You'll see how people are answering the call to duty.
Weekdays, count on the ABC 7 Morning News.
New details have emerged this morning.
San Francisco Muni officials say
Your AccuWeather forecast and Sky 7 traffic every 10 minutes on the ABC 7 Morning News weekdays.
The dictionary's definition for the word ultimate is the best or the most extreme of its kind. We agree. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Drive one at your local BMW center.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for all your help. It's my job. Wow.
Honey, can we start now?
Yes. Yes, we can.
We know how you feel, and that's why we're here. Circuit City. We're with you.
Sweetie. Yeah, just put that anywhere.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Sleep Train Mattress Centers. Your ticket to a better night's sleep.
Certainly in the last 10 days, tension has been in the air across America, and nowhere is security being taken more seriously than at the Bay Area's 3 major airports. ABC 7's Caroline Yu is live at SFO tonight, where several people were detained today. Caroline?
Well, Dan, 7 people were detained and questioned here at SFO. However, none of them were found to have done anything wrong. So while security here is high, so is paranoia. Since reopening last week, dozens of suspicious passengers have been detained by authorities at SFO. However, no one has been charged with a crime.
We certainly want to avoid any type of racial profiling whatsoever. And what we're telling the airlines and what, of course, we're telling all of our police officers is we need articulable facts.
But in some cases, fear is replacing facts. A Salt Lake City man says Northwest Airlines refused to let him board their plane because he's Arab American. He says passengers refused to fly with him and 2 other men from the Middle East.
The managers come up to us, say we cannot take in the airplane because the customers refuse to go in the airplane if you go.
Although Swapna Mehta and her husband Ajit Sanchetti are Indian, they're afraid others perceive them as Middle Easterners. Swapna urged Ajit to shave his goatee as a precaution. She worries more for her husband than herself.
Do they expect women to be terrorists? I don't know. You know, does the average person think of a woman as a threat, or is it more if I were male and I was traveling?
The situation has caught the attention of civil rights organizations that describe what's happening across the country's airports as very un-American.
We will round you up without a warrant. We will hold you indefinitely without charging you with the crime. And we will deport you based upon secret evidence. That is not the America that the Founding Fathers had in mind.
Now, these incidents in which passengers are being detained because of their ethnic background are not isolated to SFO. They are happening in airports across the nation. Reporting live at SFO, Caroline Yu, ABC 7 News.
All right, Caroline, thank you very much. New security changes at San Jose International as well. Police are searching every vehicle that comes into the short-term parking lot. Nearly half of all the parking spaces at the airport are in that lot. You can refuse the search, but then you'll be diverted to the long-term parking lot, safely away from the terminal buildings. All right, Joel Bartlett is up next. He has the weekend forecast.
I'll have a look at the first day of fall and, of course, also the weekend when we come back.
Thank you, Joel, very much. Also ahead, as the nation continues to heal from this tragedy, many Americans are heeding the call from Uncle Sam. See why thousands of Americans are signing up for the service. And the stars come together for a tribute to the victims of the attack on the United States. We'll have that story still to come.
Wake up, Cindy. 2 a.m. Cable modem has full speed.
Hey. Oh, hey. Cable speed is up. Just put on some fresh coffee. Thanks, Greg.
There is a better way to get online. DSL Internet from SBC Pacific Bell. We're on it. Get $10 off for 3 months.
You are no longer soldiers.
Don't put me in the hole!
They are sons. The man gets off on our misery. Fathers.
You're a great man. I'm sorry about what has happened.
They cannot take away from us who we are.
Brothers.
Why do you think I should help you?
With one man to lead them.
The only thing that matters here is what we are now and what we do now.
Yeah! And one last chance for honor. Robert Redford, James Gandolfini, The Last Castle, rated R, coming soon.
I'm Ted Koppel. Coming up on Nightline, the president says you're either with us or with the terrorists, but this us and them thing isn't as simple as it seems tonight.
Now or forever hold your peace.
We want an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Sorry, wrong number.
This Saturday, the only place you want to be is the one store that can offer savings like these on brands like these. Sears. Where else?
We will rebuild New York.
That was the promise from Attorney General John Ashcroft today as he visited the New York scene for the very first time. FBI Director Robert Mueller also walked through Ground Zero. Ashcroft said it looked like a volcano that was still active and pledged another $10 million in federal aid to cover the police costs. New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani led the tour and reiterated that hope is really at this point all but gone in finding any more of the more than 6,000 people caught in that building alive. A team from the front lines came back home to California tonight. The urban search and rescue team landed back in Sacramento, forever changed, obviously, by what they experienced. After a warm welcome from their colleagues, the city showed its support by lining their way home with fire trucks.
The devastation, I mean, in essence, it's like taking those 2 high-rises and put them in a blender, turn it on, and then dumping it on the ground. It's basically what it looked like.
What an image. Team members say they thought they had seen it all when they helped out after the Oklahoma City bombing, but they say it was no comparison to what they saw in New York City. Since the attacks, the U.S. military is feeling a boost. As ABC 7's Carolyn Tyler reports, enlistment is up.
Feelings of patriotism and pride brought Richard Kreitz to this Navy recruiting office in Richmond.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
The 26-year-old El Sobrante man says he's been thinking about signing up for the last few months. The terrorist attacks helped make up his mind.
I think any decent American was strongly affected by what happened last Tuesday. And I think we all as Americans want justice.
Though exact numbers aren't available yet, Navy officers tell us they're definitely taking more calls and seeing more people walk into their recruitment offices.
Whenever there's a tragedy, people in America respond. And they're responding in lots of different ways.
I will support and defend.
I will support and defend
the Constitution.
Those enlisting in the military must be 17 to 34 years old and have a high school diploma. Benefits, including money for college, have been a traditional lure. But now, for some, there's a higher calling.
Last week in New York, it basically did the same and strengthened, my wanting to go into the Navy and wanting to help the country in the time of need.
I want you. The Navy isn't the only branch where recruitment is up. Some Army recruiters are also reporting a surge in interest. The head of the East Bay's recruiting offices, including this one at Oakland's Eastmont Mall, says there's been a 20 to 30% boost in the number of calls following the terrorist attacks.
I'm just very excited that we've seen all the interest, the increase in interest, and the patriotism and all the flags we have. I see flags everywhere.
And for the U.S. military that had been grappling with thinning ranks and loss of prestige, a renewed sense of patriotism may mean a rebirth. In the East Bay, Carolyn Tyler, ABC 7 News.
We wish those men and women a lot of luck. All right, Spencer's off. Joel is here with a pretty good-looking weekend forecast, Joel.
Pretty good-looking weekend, and this is the last full day of summer, and it was a typical summertime weather pattern. Fog spreading well inland early this morning, but let me show you the way the day is ending up. You see the sunset from Mount Tam, Old Saul saying goodbye for the day, dropping behind the fog, and which is out there over the Pacific Ocean. We'll come up a little bit in time, and this is Old Glory. Isn't that a pretty shot flying proudly from the top of the mark, and kind of fills you with pride, doesn't it? At least it does me. And we'll show you another picture here, and this is looking out over western San Francisco. You can see the fog bank out there ready to start spreading inland. Temperatures right at this moment. Santa Rosa checks in with 52, 59 in Concord, here at ABC 7 in San Francisco, 53. Oakland, you're 57, and down in San Jose, it's 61 degrees. Well, this is our satellite picture. Show you what's going on. You can see the fog along the coast, whisked along by fresh ocean breezes. It will be spreading back inland again, so we'll wake up to morning gray. We have high off the coast, low pressure inland winds blow from a high to a low. They'll be blowing around 10 to 20 miles an hour tomorrow afternoon, the sea breeze. But look at this, a weather system out here in the North Pacific, and it looks more like wintertime. This trough is going to gradually migrate to the east, so we're going to have some extra clouds coming in to greet us on Monday, the middle and higher level cloudiness. But for the weekend, Dan said it looked pretty good, and indeed it does. Sunny afternoons right on through the weekend. A little cooler on Sunday. Tomorrow, much like today. A quick trip around the country. Thunder bumpers out here over eastern New Mexico, Louisiana, over the eastern Great Lakes. The storm that hit New York with heavy rain yesterday has moved on away. So Arrivederci clearing up there. Around the Bay Area, great weather for the Blues Festival tomorrow afternoon. The fog will be clearing out. And for the A's, tomorrow, taking away some of Shu's thunder here. It looks good for them at the Oakland Coliseum as we head 80s farther inland tomorrow as we head south down to Monterey. 64 degrees for the Jazz Festival there. So to wrap it up and spell it out, fog spreading over the bay tonight, and then tomorrow, fall officially begins at 4:05. Let fall be fall. And you can see our AccuWeather 5-day forecast. It's a little cooler on Sunday, some clouds moving in Monday, then warming up again. But overall, the weekend looks pretty doggone good.
It does indeed, Joel. Thank you very much. Mike Schumann is in for Martin. He's up next with all the sports.
And we got a busy day as usual. Can the Giants get back on the winning track? And can the A's get closer to clinching the wild card spot? Only one way to find out. That's coming up right here in sports.
ABC 7 invites you to celebrate the Bay Area's cultural diversity.
Please join us as we honor 5 outstanding Hispanic Americans for their contributions to our communities.
Profiles of Excellence, Sunday at 5 on ABC 7.
How'd this happen?
I said I wanted to go hiking tomorrow, not bring home Charo.
Hey.
It's not even close.
I heard what I heard. Do you have a cellular phone? Yeah. It's the static. Here, Sprint PCS built the only all-digital, all-PCS nationwide network, so all your calls will be clear.
Thanks.
Sir, ma'am, Charo.
Bye-bye, cutie.
2,500 minutes for $39.99 from Sprint PCS.
You know how you feel when you get on an old vintage bike?
Speedy motorcycle.
There's this very freeing thing that happens. There's a great energy with leather and denim.
Speedy motorcycle.
It's not about being tough. It's very liberating, romantic, modern, and clean.
Speedy motorcycle.
What we've done for Target is make the collection really fresh and affordable. You never forget your first leather jacket.
All new, all different, all in one. The 2002 Buick Rendezvous. Compare Lexus RX 300. Rendezvous offers third-row seating not available on the Lexus. Rendezvous has more cargo room, gets better highway fuel economy, at its price nearly $7,000 less. Capabilities of an SUV, ride and comfort of a luxury car. Why spend almost $7,000 more? Compare. Get more for your money. Choose Buick Rendezvous. See your Northern California Buick dealer.
California auto insurance rates are up in 2001. So if we don't shop around, what kind of auto insurance companies are we going to have? Ones that don't believe in a free market. It's up to you. Call any of the 225 companies in California. Call us at 21st Century Insurance. You'll discover our new customers save an average of $300. So if you'd like another wall to come down, call 21st Century Auto Insurance at 1-800-211-SAVE.
We hope you got to see some of it. Bruce Springsteen kicked off a show that made television history tonight. The country's most talented entertainers hosted a telethon, and more than 30 TV networks broadcast the show. The event raised money for the victims of last week's terrorist attacks. Some superstars manned the phones as others told stories from the tragedy. Still others performed. Organizers will not have an estimate on how much was raised until sometime next week, but we will let you know. Now, if you'd like to help in the recovery effort, you can also send a check to the Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund at 85 2nd Street in San Francisco, the zip code 94105. You can also donate by calling the Red Cross at 1-800-HELP-NOW. And remember, to get more information about the Red Cross effort, airports, or how to donate blood perhaps, go to our website at abc7news.com.